From Julio Cruz and Gaylord Perry to Alvin Davis and Harold Reynolds to father and son back to back bombs. From Junior J, Joey, and Edgar with Randy, A-Rod, Dan, and the Sheriff to Ichiro Moyer and Mikey C to King Felix, Kyle Cruz, and Cano to the present with Julio, Gilbert, Kirby, and Cal. I don't believe it. It just continues. My, oh my, it's another sports podcast. My, oh my, it's another sports podcast. And my, oh my, we are in full swing in the football season. College football is jumping off. The NFL is always fun. We got Major League Baseball, who kind of moves at a snail's pace when it comes to their off season. But nevertheless, we're going to jump into this thing. Got to give a huge shout out to our homie Indy, super producer, rocking the ones and twos out of Nashville, Tennessee. Vaden Podcast Services. It's Vaden Podcast Services making this show come to life. Got to give a huge shout out to all the homies that join us in the live chat, and a special thank you to everyone who listens via podcast format. Of course, without further ado, I got to give a huge shout out to my main man, RG, the most dedicated podcaster in the game. Bro, how you doing out there, man?
BIGPOPPA, no info for the DEA. Federal agents mad because I'm flagrant, tap my cell and the phone in the basement. It's going to be a short night for me, y'all. I got a hard out I'm taking. Got to get back on these roads early, navigate my way through deer, elk, possums, Trump supporters, Harris supporters, anybody who wants to jump in front of the truck. I got something for you this week. Go to work.
Man, the way social media is, you're gonna have to be real careful because people are gonna be coming out off the overpass at you, bro. But I mean, we
Let them
got this
go.
limited.
I'm 75,000 pounds, ready to go. You you versus this truck is a cat versus a pit bull. Let's go.
Oh, absolutely, making humans look like the flies on the windshield with that shit. But you sent us something interesting earlier. There's a lot of speculation on who the Mariners may target. Tay Williams, y'all are not them boys. It's clear as day. Screw it, man. Well,
Hold
you
on. Could I do another
out
song? Is Tay
there.
Williams here?
Hey,
Tay
do it
Williams is
right
here.
now.
Can
He
I do
said,
another song?
boys, we saw what
Fly, Eagles, fly on the road to victory. Fight, Eagles, fight. Score a touchdown, 1, 2, 3. Hit 'em low, high, and watch our Eagles fly. Fly, Eagles, fly on the road to victory.
E-A-G-L-E-S,
Eagles.
Eagles. And I'm actually a Seahawks fan, but we all hate the Cowboys, and that's one way we can come together in this divisive time period right now. If y'all are hearing people on social media getting a little bit crazy, get out in your community, get out amongst the people, because you get out there in the real world face to face, and people are still cool for the most part. Don't let the trolls and the crazies on social media tell you otherwise. But RG, were you able to catch any of the game at all, at least via radio, or were you cruising the highways the entire time?
I had it on while driving today. I'm actually live from the home of Tyler's favorite NBA basketball team, the Oklahoma City
Oh,
Thunder.
hell nah.
That's what you get for that Ohio State hat, you punk. Uh, but yeah, I got to listen to the game. Uh, Micah Parsons is a beast. I'll give that man credit where it's due. Micah Parsons is a beast. First game back, first half, he was out there raising hell like he does. I can't wait until that guy is an Eagle next year because secretly he wants to come over. He wanted to come over when we started signing all them Georgia Bulldogs. He wants to come be a part of that. So hopefully Howie gets it done and Parsons is the Eagle before Dallas figures out that contract. Not out of the woods yet. Have a great record. Washington lost, so my Eagles are currently sitting in first place with a chance to play Washington on Thursday night to try to separate the gap between us and go up 2 games. Jalen Hurts makes some dumbass decisions, man. Dating all the way back to his dumbass decisions that cost us the Super Bowl. Mentally, I try to figure out where he's at sometimes. Tries to do too much, holds on to the ball too long, and especially when you're facing someone who is as athletic as you, as Micah Parsons is coming off the edge, you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. Don't take all those unnecessary sacks. There's going to be a time where those are going to cost us points. Luckily, today it didn't. Won't harp too much more on the game. Like I said, I got a hard out, so we're going to try to touch as many subjects as we can before I got to hit the show. But yeah, man, shout out to the Eagles, man. Got the job done today. Thoroughly took care of the Cowboys. Now, I'll admit, with the healthy Dak, healthy defense, that's a different game. It is the first time we won in Dallas since 2017. But also the last time we won in Dallas in 2017, in February, we hosted up the Lombardi Trophy. So hopefully that history coincides with each other. But yeah, playing really good ball right now.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I'm just looking at it right now. Eagles are 4-1 on the road. If you can maintain that sort of winning pace on the road, you will have a really good year when it's all said and done. But yeah, man, we be looking at the Mariners. We love football, but this is what we really get into on this show. And since you got limited time, you sent us an article with people talking about possibly Glaber Torres to the Mariners. I think it's obvious as hell, dude, that we need an upgrade at third base, second base, maybe first base. I and we can talk about shortstop. I don't like to go there because we know JP's not going anywhere. But talk to me, dude. Is there anyone in particular you like? I'm honestly not a big Glaber Torres guy. I just think he's gonna get the bag when he's a kind of average player, even if he is an obvious upgrade.
I'll be honest with you, I don't care. I don't care. It's football and basketball season. I'm not going to let them put me through this hell again as they've done the last 23 years. We all know what this is going to happen. There's going to be 50 articles linking us to 110 players. If any of them are worth any type of value, guess who we're not going to sign? Any of them. So it pains me to say that and take that kind of step approach, but I just don't. I don't want to play this game. Let's hurry up and get to where it's obvious that you miss out on the signings that could actually help this team get over the hump and get to where it needs to be. Go put together 5 players to try to make one. 25% of the fan base will go up in arms because they'll remember them from 5 years ago and how cool they used to be, while the rest of us are going to sit here and go, hurry up and get to that point, because then I know spring training is coming and I could actually have baseball to watch. Um, Anybody who's on any of those types of lists would be absolutely better than what we have. A 3-man rotation to fill third base, and none of them hit over 220. Rojas fell apart. Luis Arias ain't shit. Anybody would be better over there, but they just keep proving over and over again the inability to make a splash move. They don't want to spend money. So if they don't want to spend money, I can't give them my emotion right now while there's so much other good sports going on. You know who I want. You know who I want at third base. None other than the cheater himself, Alex Bregman. Here's the problem. Anybody attached to Scott Boras this year, Scott Boris's players in this offseason are projected to make $1.4 billion between the 6 players he represents that are free agents right now. You think we want any part of that smoke? Hell no. Would it absolutely benefit us to go get some of those players? 2 of them on the list particularly. Bregman at third, Pete Alonso at first. Tell me that doesn't make us the most dangerous lineup in the American League West since Houston's getting old and with our pitching staff. Are we going anywhere near those lists? Shit. That kid has a better chance of becoming skinny in 3 days than us signing anybody off of Boris's fucking list. Unfortunate, but you know how we get down. We ain't here for that. We're here to try to catch lightning in a bottle. We're here to put used tires on. We're here to put used tires on a Maserati and then wonder why it breaks down 100 miles down the road. Show me something different, and I'll completely be the first one to come out here on the airways and eat crow and change my tone. Till then, more of the same.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. And it pains me to say this, dude, but that's why there's tons of guys on the free agent list that I don't even look at right now. I'm already looking at guys like Carlos Santana. Is it bullshit? Probably, but I'm like, I'm not gonna waste my time and I don't want to waste it on this show with the Juan Soto's and the Willie Adamises of the world. That's just not gonna happen. Even Bregman seems like a far stretch, even though to me that's a perfect fit. You got a guaranteed winner, a multiple champion. He's hit in the clutch. He has had a fantastic career. Now, I am a little worried, though. This year, 2024, was the lowest OPS of Bregman's career, but he still won the gold glove. He still hit 26 bombs. And if 26 bombs and a gold glove is a down year at third base, oh my God, we would take that every day of the week, bro. So I'm
Sign me up.
I'm giant on the Bregman trade. And to all the Mariners fans, if I hear one more person say, I don't want him, he cheated, I know every single person that says they're true to the blue cheered their hearts out for Nelson Cruz. And yes, he got popped for the PEDs before he came to our team. We all knew it. If you come here, play your ass off, and help us win, I don't give a shit about some baseball cheating. It's not like he's out there killing people, he's not beating wives. We're just talking about on the field shit. And so bring him in. They're really quickly, though, RG, on the live chat, they're talking about Ha Kim, the little defensive wizard at second base for the Padres. And he might come up, but I don't know how sold I am, and maybe beggars can't be choosers, but he's had a vastly better career than Dylan Moore. But just in 2024 alone, they're really close to the same player. So I'm a little worried about that. But the giant elephant in the room made his declaration early in the week, bro. And we both agreed he'd be insane not to do it. Mitch Haniger accepted his player option. He's back on the team. And so we are right around 150 million on the payroll right now. I think we should be at 190 to 200, and that's being generous. But I don't see us getting up over 160. So we're either trading or it's going to be a really bleak off season.
I'm leaning towards the bleak, but there's plenty of opportunity for them to prove me right and to prove me wrong. Hopefully, they prove me wrong. But we played this song and dance with them before. You mentioned Dylan Moore, so let's take a round of applause out for the homie Dylan Moore. Also, take a round of applause out for the homie Cal Raleigh. Both both of them won Gold Gloves, and extra shout out to the Big Dupper himself, Mr. Platinum Glove, best defensive catcher in the league. And someone told me I was crazy when I said that he was the best catcher in the American League, and they wanted to throw the guy from Baltimore up in my face. I'll take Cal Raleigh all day, baby. Take Cal Raleigh all day. Happy to have him. But again, then that just gives me more trepidation that he's upping his value. He's showing he's the man. We are going to eventually have to pay him. And if not, he's going to look real ugly in the AL East uniform. But we all know how that goes already.
Mm-hmm.
Strike while the iron is hot, and we still got some good time with these guys before they become too expensive for us to be able to keep. I'm going to completely lose my mind when I see Logan Gilbert pitching in the National League. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to lose my shit when I see Cal Raleigh catching in the AL East. I'm going to absolutely crazy when I see George Kirby pitching in another uniform. Do it while you have them. Make the goddamn move.
Dude, we're close. We can't emphasize it enough, and this is where the frustration is at the day before Thanksgiving, I'm gonna turn 40, and I've loved the Mariners since I knew how to walk, talk, all that shit. I probably loved the Mariners when I could barely crawl, bro. But most seasons we've gone into, we knew we weren't shit. Almost my whole adult life, we weren't gonna be shit. But this team is so close. We have the young core. We have the pitching staff that's the envy of all of baseball. We just need to put a little bit more in. And you say this all the time. This isn't just giving away money. This is an investment. Mr. Stanton, this is an investment. Y'all don't see what the Seahawks have done. Y'all don't see what the Huskies do. Y'all, I mean, even the Sounders are a big deal. Just win, and even if you're not at the top level, like the Sounders, if you win, people show up, show out, and spend their hard earned money at your ballpark, on your websites, all that good shit, man. Sunday Evening Media is wondering if Edgar will be back. He will be back in a limited capacity, is what it sounds like. He's got a lot other stuff in his life that I don't think he wants the grind of 162. But man, it's I'm just glad it's football season, dude, right now because I'm waiting to be extremely frustrated by Mariners ownership and front office within the next few months.
Absolutely. And don't accept the crap that they give you. Don't accept the crap that they give you. Raise a voice. Don't buy tickets. Do something. But we all know that's not going to happen. It's just sad to end up here year after year after year where it's obvious a impact player or two gets us over the hump, and we try to go out and get 8 guys to equal what 2 could do, just and then end up paying them anyway. Luis Urias was a complete waste of money. $5 million to not do shit.
Mm-hmm.
Just I was on the pitching side of the ball, he's got his shit together. When it comes to offensive production, that guy doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. And another 10 years of this 10-year plan that started 10 years ago, and you got success one time out of the 10 years you've already had this shit, and the majority of the fan base, they're just going to put their hands up and be patient with it. You crazy. You're absolutely crazy. Am I going to stop cheering for the Mariners? Hell no. I'm addicted to this drug. But damn it, I need the drug dealer to hook me up at least once. Give me 2 for 3, something, man. Come on.
And we have the ammo though. If they we know that they're going to try to go the cheaper route, RG, but we have the ammo. We still have 5 positional players in the top 100 prospects of all of baseball, man. 5 in the top 100, but they're not going to fool me, bro, because I looked all these cats up, man. And yeah, they don't all might be in quotes, air quotes, high potential. Guess what? Potential gets coaches fired. That's what potential
Sure
does.
does.
Production keeps your job. Potential gets you fired. But no one's gonna make me trip, dude, that we have close prospects in the system because they're not close. And if they all hold this high of value, we got to make the move now because the window is already closing. Colt Emerson batted 225 at fucking Everett, dude. Our best prospect that we want, so 225 at Everett. Cole Young sitting 271 at Double A. Lazaro Montes is still at Everett. Harry Ford's in Arkansas. Felton Celestin isn't even out of the Arizona baseball complex. He isn't even at Low A Modesto yet. So these guys, like, we got to be real. They're not close, man. And I get a feeling they might want to hoard prospects. But you know what's going to keep your job, Jerry, is well, I shouldn't say that because I'm not the owner, and we just saw him get extended. But my main point I'm making is all of these prospects that are so heralded, if we take a realistic look at them, they're not close to the bigs. We got to make some sort of move while we have this opportunity.
It's almost like the game plan is to hold on to them until these guys either get it done or phase out, rush them up here too soon, and just, we're trying our best to do everything we can to bring a World Series to Seattle, and you should be grateful that we're trying to make these moves. And again, shut the fuck up, make the move, try to get us some bats. We already know Bellinger's going to be expensive as hell because Boris was already talking shit about that. We're not going to go after Bregman. Can't afford Pete Alonso. Damn near I'm going to go after Juan Soto. And you know what Boris did say, though? He did say something I found was interesting. When someone asked him about deferred contracts, he said, if my talent helps you make $1 billion, why would I defer any of that money? Come on, man. Again, what is it the hell that we're out here doing? We're making checkers in the chess for no apparent reason other than just stingy ownership.
Prove us wrong.
All
Nothing would
day.
be nothing would make me happier than to be wrong as shit about this. I would love to look like an idiot on wax. I will replay this as our opening every single time if ownership proves us wrong, man. I will be happy, thrilled.
Yeah, just don't use any of the clips with you in that Ohio State hat. Smack the shit out of you.
I got on the one of the cleanest hats I know. Yo, you're gonna love this, man, because when RG is posting up the most dedicated podcast host in the game, but he can't always see the live chat. Dude, Tay Williams is dropping some fire though on this. He's like, y'all speaking of Jerry, fuck Jerry Jones. That's what Tay's got to say about
Yeah, fuck him too. Fuck him
that.
too. If I was a Cowboy fan, I'd be absolutely livid. Would be absolutely livid right now at the way these things keep playing out for him. I just, and it's not going to get any better because it's not like when he passes on, his son and his daughter have any philosophies that are any different than dad's. Um, Maybe that might be a little bit unfair to say, but I just don't see them doing anything different in the way that he does it. Um, Someone always wants to say when we get to February that the Super Bowl is rigged. Well, if the Super Bowl was rigged, how come the most popular franchise in all the sports hasn't been there in 27 fucking years? Because that would make a killing for everybody. We got an LA Boston NBA Finals in that time. We got a LA New York Stanley Cup in that time. We just got a LA New York World Series in that time. And you saw how the numbers were. Some of the most highest rated baseball games in recent memory came through the World Series. And I know a lot of people like the little guy, and I don't like when the big teams win. But guess what? There's money involved when the big teams are involved. Why don't we get off the block and stop trying to be little brother and go pony something up and take over the block? All we got to do is burn it down, and we can give it right back. They can have it right back. All we need to do is burn it down 1 year. 1 year. It would change everything around here.
Oh, bringing it, man, bringing it. That's such a good point, though, about the giant brands, the popular teams, and whatnot, because the numbers speak for themselves in this way. The 2024 World Series, like you mentioned, with New York and LA, has over almost 5 million more viewers than the NBA Finals top game. The World Series outdid the NBA Finals by 5 million people on average. I don't think that shit's happened in probably over 10 years at least, if not going all the way back to the 90s, because it's been about that long since baseball was at that crazy popularity that we grew up with. That George Kenneth Griffey Jr. dude, man, he is like maybe the last superstar of baseball, because it's kind of got pushed to the background. We know that football is a new national pastime. I totally understand why, but ooh, you just kind of brought some fire, man. I love how you have your limited time, man. You're spitting fire like a fucking dragon out here, man.
Dude, I just fed up, man. I'm just fed up. I'm really fed up. The next few years, I'm nervous. I'm not gonna sit here and lie. I'm nervous about the next few years. Um, while the time is near, make the move. Make the move. So that's the rest I can say without it getting too personal. While the time is near, make the move. Just go on ahead and do it. Because if you're the more you keep waiting, the other teams in our division are going to make moves to get better. Oakland doesn't have a choice but to try to get better because they cannot leave Sacramento with a bullshit product or that Vegas experiment is going to fail.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have a choice. Or maybe we wait for Artie Moreno to move Mike Trout. Maybe that's Jerry's big game plan. Got to
Dude,
do something.
risky. That's risky, man.
Isn't it?
You know
Isn't
what
it?
though?
But
They
you
don't
got to
they
do
don't have to
something.
get crazy. They don't have to be crazy. I think that they could make themselves a World Series contender by adding $30 million, $40 million on this next payroll. Like we don't need to get fucking crazy, dude. Just add 30 to $40 million because that could get us Bregman and Carlos Santana. Add
Mm.
Bregman and Carlos Santana to this lineup and the guys we already have with the pitching staff. We have arms that should be getting healthier in the bullpen. We got a couple dudes in the minors that I think could be legit contributors. We saw what Troy Taylor can do. We have so much going right. Mariners just add 30 to $40 million because they're saying Bregman wants 25 a year. To me, that's kind of reasonable for a dude of that ilk. Now, what's going to worry you is the amount of years. Is it 4 years? Is it 5 years? Scott Boras is going to try to get 7 or 8 years. It'll
Mm.
probably end up being 5 or 6. That's just how the negotiations go. But Mariners, like I know I think I'm Mr. Salary budget dude up here, but it's not hard math, man. You can just do this shit while you're driving your truck, thinking of at the stoplight, man. And if not only would we have the
Ain't no
bats,
stoplights on the interstate. Fuck you
fair
talking about?
enough. Yeah, you know me, I'm in suburbia, so I'm watching out for all them people, dogs, cats, kids,
Yeah.
morons on the little scooters. But I mean,
I'll smoke them all
say
and
we had.
tell the police. I'll run one of them over and tell the police, "Hey man, he identified as a deer."
Oh man, completely off topic, dude. On my commute to work, I take a couple of real country back roads, and like back to back days, I almost hit a deer and I almost hit a coyote on my way into work. Avoided them both, so we're all good in the hood. But that's just funny you mentioned that. But for
Hey
all
man,
these
sometimes baby's mom has to die. That's just the fact of life. That's just the fact of life, man. Um, let's hop around a little bit. I got a couple minutes left before my heart out tonight, and I'm gonna tag in Indy. He's gonna rock with y'all the rest of the way tonight. Um, College football, man. I did not foresee this college football season being as fun, as exciting as it is. I honestly thought the mega conference alignments, the 12 team football would take away from what we enjoy every Saturday, and it absolutely has not. It is definitely dire survive or get eaten out here right now. And a lot of good matchups going away of a lot of teams who need to prove something. It's going to be real interesting to see what happens with Georgia now that they shit the bed. Alabama got LSU up out of there, but they're all treading on thin ice right now. And some underdog schools who you wouldn't have thought had a chance to ruin the whole thing have an absolute chance to blow it up Saturday if Indiana beats Tyler's beloved Ohio State Buckeyes. This is going down this year. BYU is still surviving and advancing. Penn State having a six ranking is absolute dog shit. But we'll get them boys up out of here soon as well too. This has been a very, very interesting and fun college football season. The way that is playing out, and I, for one, thought it was going to be watered down with the conference expansions and the playoff expansion as well too. This shit has been great.
Oh, absolutely. I absolutely love it too because if y'all don't know, we got some huge college football fans that are on this podcast and it's so much fun. There's one obvious elephant in the room for me is if you cheer for any school in the state of Washington, you are sick to your stomach that Oregon is the undefeated number 1 man, but they deserve it. They pulled off a fantastic win over Ohio State just a couple of weeks ago. Be right, Indiana 10-0? Who saw that coming? BYU 9-0? Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois or Eastern Illinois, one of the Illinois, and now they're just stampeding back, dude. This is freaking awesome. I love it. Boise State, Ashton Gente. Most of us aren't able to watch Boise State live, and and a lot of y'all are in the Northwest, but man, them highlights on YouTube will get you through any shitty morning when you're trying to get rolling. And then of course, Colorado Buffaloes. amazing turnaround to get themselves in the top 20. The Wazoo Cougars are saying fuck you to all the Pac 12 schools. I love that, though. Even though I'm a Husky fan, I love their mentality. They're just double middle fingers to the sky right now. Y'all leave us. No one wants us. We just gonna beat all of y'all then, and it's
You
awesome, man.
know who the
It'd be
Wazoo
crazy.
Cougars have a date with? You know who the Wazoo Cougars have a date with coming up on Friday?
Nah, bro.
They gotta come to the Dirty Kirky, baby. Come to Albuquerque and tussle with the Lobos. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And don't let it fool you, man. We've been playing good football. We've given up a lot of points, but we're also putting up points on the board. And a shout out to my University of Mexico, pulled the California sweep on Friday. Not only did the football team go down and beat San Diego State, who's leaving to the new Pac-12. My Lobos also went up to Nevada to have an off-court game and beat them 20 ranked UCLA Bruins on Friday night too. So shout out to small town Albuquerque running the soon to be Pac-12 and Big Ten up out of here in the same night. Gotta love it. Gotta love the start of college basketball mixed in with all of this. Oh man, it's been fun, y'all. You know what I do. I'm a truck driver by trade, and I got to be up and get on a route early. So I'm sorry I got to dip out on y'all like this, but sleep is important. I got to be able to be alert on them roads. Not only would you want me driving safe if I was driving to your family, but my life is also more important than to try to risk not getting enough sufficient sleep to be able to do my job efficiently. So we're gonna take a quick little pause, get things readjusted so that way Indy can tap into the live feed, and they'll be right back with you on My Oh My. It's another sports podcast, y'all. Hopefully, I'll see you next week.
We're bringing back a favorite segment of the show. And anyone on the live chat, I want you to type out the names that you would like to see us talk about. But this is where we dive into and show some love to some of our favorite Mariners throughout time. This guy spent 7 years as a Mariner in two different stops. He was always an outstanding fielder, flashing the leather, web gems on the reg. He actually had a really tough start and a tough end to his major league career at the plate, that is. But he still managed a 277 average with an 814 OPS. In the early 2000s, he won three straight gold gloves with the Mariners and was a two-time All-Star in that span. From the seasons of 2001 to 2003, my dog had an 884 OPS with two gold gloves. There might have been a little bit of extra help behind the scenes for this man, but I don't care. I still love on him. In 2001, he had maybe the best season a second baseman's ever had with an 8.8 war, a 331 average, and a 950 OPS. You want to talk about production? 37 home runs, 141 RBI. Say what you will, but you gotta love these guys. Brett Boone, we love you, bro. And it was so fun to watch him play. Indy, I know that would have been the very beginning of your Mariner fandom, maybe even a little before your time, but you remember my boy Brett Boone at all? Because there's no joke. You're going to have to do some digging to find a better season from a second baseman than 2001 Brett Boone.
Yeah, I don't remember him like specifically a whole lot because I was only 5 or 6 then.
Mm-hmm.
He left. I think he left when I was 7. So like when I was just getting like really really into baseball,
Mm-hmm.
like watching it and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, dude was a beast. From what I remember, he was just an absolute beast.
Okay. There is one caveat I kind of alluded to, and a lot of people are going to talk that shit because there's some speculation that he was a PED user. And honestly, I was in high school at the time, so when you're with your boys, you're starting to want to build yourself up or whatever, try to get a little better at the sports you're into and whatnot. And when Brett Boone came back to the Mariners the second time in the early 2000s, that's when all of me and my friends were like, "Oh, these dudes are doing some extra shit here in Major League Baseball now." Because the dude was a skinny defensive specialist when he came up, and now in the early 2000s, he turned into a basher. But there's one thing that anyone can learn, Indy, from Brett Boone, though, is because I think back to 2001. We're talking about a dude with 37 bombs and 141 RBI. And what he did is he actually had a completely different two strike stance. And it allowed him to compile that many RBIs. And you don't see this in baseball, and I wish we would see it more. But he would crouch down lower, shorten his swing, widen his stance, both with the width in his legs and how open he stood, and really tried to just go to right field, still crushing it when he could. So, Brett Boone, I wish that more baseball players would take after your awesome approach that paid dividends. And yeah, we're going to keep doing this. If y'all want us to go into any Mariners that you got to love these guys, we'll be happy to do it. And we made this a pretty big part of the show last year in the off season. We're gonna roll with it this year, but Brett Boone, thank you, bro. And I agree. Sunday Evening Media says Boone was one of his favorites. He was one of mine too. That whole team was freaking awesome. It's too bad we didn't take it all the way. Sunday Evening Media, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. Do Moyer will, because I want to be able to look them up to really give them the proper flowers. And I think Moyer's a good one too, Indy, because one thing we wanted to do with You Gotta Love These Guys is we could easily do the Hall of Fame quality players, but we haven't even touched on those dudes yet. This thing is for like the Jamie Moyers and the Mike Camerons of the world and the Brett Boones and whatnot, the guys that were critical components or even great players on losing teams, because there's been a lot of losing years for the Mariners. We want to highlight the real glue guys that might not have gotten exactly the love they deserved at the time. Because you know it, man. As shitty as the win loss record has been, the Seattle Mariners have actually had quite a few mega superstars when you think about your Ichiros and Griffey Juniors of the world. So good shit, man. Good shit. I gotta ask you then, bro. I gotta ask you. You're down there in Tennessee. They had a huge win this weekend. Shout out to friend of the show, Blake. He must be hyped about his team right now in playoff contention. We were just going off about college football, bro. What were you able to catch anything? And is Rocky Top still getting annoying to you? What's going on down there in the dirty, dirty?
I mean, I agree with what RG was saying earlier about how college football has not disappointed at all with the realignment and everything. Like how everybody kind of was panicking when it was all going down at first. This weekend, it was pretty cool. A friend of mine's cousin actually got an interception in the UT game. Boo Carter.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet. His mom was going insane on Facebook. It was awesome. You love to see a family that rides for their son or nephew or cousin or whatever like that. It's cool to see. But it was also awesome to see Georgia get absolutely smacked. And my girl's parents and her aunt and uncle and stuff did a tailgate at that game. So they got to be there in the pouring rain and watch Kirby
Mhm.
get annihilated. Oh, actually, one of the videos that Darby's sister took, Barstool asked her for it because it was a video of a dude falling off the stands and hitting his gut on a handrail, like a drunk frat guy. It
Uh,
was pretty funny. But I mean, dude, Tennessee's running back is an absolute monster. Dylan Sampson, an
yeah.
absolute monster. You hear about Genty, you hear about uh what's his name? I can't even remember his name anymore because all I can think about is Dylan Sampson running wild on Saturday night.
Mm.
It was awesome. And like it's weird because Tennessee, their quarterback is, I can't remember even how to say his last name, but he was highly touted for his arm. The man he only had to throw the ball like 13 times in that win.
Mm.
When you have a running back like that, like it doesn't matter how good of an arm talent your quarterback is, the less you can keep it out of the air and still get production, the less risk, you know? So like
Oh yeah.
I've seen a lot of Tennessee fans like saying, "We got him because he can throw the ball. Why aren't we throwing the ball more?" But you're what? They've lost one or two games right in the
Hmm.
thick of the college football playoffs. It seems like their coach is doing exactly what they should be doing. Miami losing to Georgia Tech, on the other hand, definitely upset me a little bit. That should not have happened. They absolutely dominated Miami at every phase of the game.
Mm. Do you think Miami came out flat, or do you think they're overrated?
I think they came out flat, but I also think I don't- I think 12 is where they should be ranked, right around there. I think they
Well, that's
were
exactly where
overrated.
they are.
Yeah, I think they were overrated a little bit. I think they're exactly where they should be now. They have a lot of talent, but there it feels like there's a lack of urgency. I mean, which should be apparent when you're constantly having come from behind victories. That's a sign of lack of urgency in the beginning of a game to me. Like
Mm.
they just start slow every year or every game. It's it's not a recipe for victory when you go against those other really good teams, much less Georgia Tech.
Oh yeah.
We'll see. The playoffs are going to be insane. I can't wait, honestly.
What is it? 12 teams?
Yeah, it's going to be so fun, man.
How fun is that? How fun is that, man? Penn State absolutely embarrassed the Huskies on
Oof.
Saturday night, so we're not going to get too far into that. But you know what? All you really need to know, Indy, is I didn't even turn on that game. I wanted to watch Alabama at LSU. Alabama went absolutely wild. Talk to me, bro. Talk to me,
That was
bro.
just as much of an ass beating as Penn State to Washington, in my opinion, if not worse.
What would you
Dude,
think about Jalen Milrow in Seattle?
I wouldn't hate it. Will we have an offensive line? I think that's more important
Yeah,
because
totally.
throwing anybody, like, it doesn't matter who you throw back there, they're going to have a hard time. Like, I'm not saying Gino's the fault or not the fault, but I think we need to address the offensive line before we address the quarterback position. But Milrow would be
Here's
awesome.
the thing. Here's the thing, dude. Is you're right on that. Is I want to upgrade Geno, but the Seahawks need to upgrade the offensive line. See, you see where I'm getting there, and I think
For
you're kind of
sure.
on the same page. I want to upgrade over Geno at quarterback, but the Seahawks need to improve the offensive line because we're gonna set up a young quarterback to get scared, to see ghosts, to eventually bust out or at least underperform. Sunday evening media, the line is imperative to fix, and I can't emphasize that enough. What drives me crazy, dude, is this is the curse of Steve Hutchinson and the curse of Max Unger. But I go all the way back to Hutch, bro, because it's nearly 20 years later and we're still trying to replace Hutch. So you can't let good and fuck good Hall of Fame. That's why I was so bad. You don't let Hall of Famers walk out the door for nothing in their prime. I don't care if he's a freaking guard. John Schneider, I've been an enormous fan of his. Absolutely enormous fan. But the clock's ticking. He's got 2 years to fix the O line, or we got to find someone else that can.
It's bad. It's really bad. And it's been really bad for a, almost going on a decade. It's
Oh, yeah.
and it feels like they've tried. Like they spent a lot of draft capital on the offensive line. It just never it has been miss after miss after miss after miss. I will say it did hurt watching that Panthers Giants game this morning and seeing Damian Lewis just absolutely mauling over people in the run game.
Really? Okay.
Chuba Hubbard had like 150 rushing yards today. Just absolutely mauling. We
We missed him, don't we?
yeah, we do. We desperately could have used him this year.
Here's one thing I would say though, I looked up for argument's sake though, is why I do want to give John Schneider a little bit of time here. And also why you can't shoot from the hip all the time. You want to just fire every coach after a shitty quarter. Do you want to be the New York Jets? Do you want to be the Jacksonville Jaguars? Because that's what those teams have done. But since John Schneider's been the GM, dude, he's had 6 different offensive line coaches. And I had a couple people on social media go, well, that's John's fault. No, no, it's not. Time out here. Time out here. Pete Carroll was the boss at the end of the day. And although he is the greatest pro sports coach in Seattle history, he still had his faults. And I mean, I guess that's like any person, but Pete was the one that made the coaching staff decisions. John Schneider didn't have his say until this off season. That's why I think that the clock is ticking now because this is John's show. He was always kind of hit. John and his staff were kind of doing the dirty work for Pete Carroll for all these years. They do all the film grinding. And then when you actually put the card in, Pete's the one that gets to make that decision, bro. But 6 different offensive line coaches. Continuity is key. Synergy between front office and coaching staff in any sport is critical. And so I feel like we've been trying to acquire different old linemen for different types of schemes. And then let's go back even one step further, bro, is although he was a damn good player for us, I loved his spirit, his tenacity, his physicality. But J.R. Sweezy being a success story might have been the worst thing to happen to the Seahawks because it gave him a false sense of belief that they could turn anyone into a good old lineman.
Yeah, I agree. As much as I like the guy, I agree.
Oh, it's fantastic. For what J.R. Sweezy did from D tackle as like a 6th or 7th round pick to have a 10, 12-year career, that's absolutely going against the odds for what he was coming into the league. But I swear it gave them a false sense of security that, hey, we can turn, chicken shit into chicken salad, and that's just not the case. And I think John Schneider also needs to look himself in the mirror and realize how much the league's changed, how much football's changed, and just how many more quality D linemen there are compared to quality O linemen. I heard a scout say somewhat recently that he was like guys like Walter Jones would have put a D tackle if they played in 2025, and instead he's maybe the greatest left tackle ever. So John Schneider and peer numbers, and this goes for any team. I mean, Texas Power, gosh, thrown 4 picks tonight. It is not the Lions' night, but I think every single football fan in the country would die to have that offensive line that they've built over there in Detroit. And sometimes
Mm-hmm.
it's the pure numbers. You know what, John? It might be a reach to draft said offensive guard at a certain spot, but maybe it's not really reaching when you just think about the supply and demand. And the supply for quality O linemen is probably about as low as it's ever been. And then to top it off, they don't practice that much. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely feel like good offensive linemen are far and few between these days. It used to feel like they were just all pros littered across the league, but it doesn't feel like that anymore. It feels like a, a lot of the talent is sucked up into certain teams, like the Eagles, the Lions, the Vikings offensive line's not that bad, even though they've had their struggles. I'm you just have to you have to reach at some point. Like
mm,
you just have to go for need at some point. And our biggest need is offensive line. Like I'm so sick of watching whoever is quarterback run for their lives on 60% of their dropbacks or
mm,
more. Like it's unnecessary.
mm. And I mean, it's Gino's fault. He's the one that makes the throws in the end. One of my favorite quotes is Peyton Manning, the quarterback, signs the check as soon as they release the football.
Yeah.
But it's clear as day, though, that his decision making is getting frazzled back there. And yeah, you would hope that every guy's Dan Marino and shit doesn't bother him. But most guys aren't a Dan fucking Marino out here. And we got to protect better. And then to top it off, man, Ken Walker should be known as an elite running back in this league. But he has to make fantastic plays just to get 3 yards a lot of the time. So it's definitely a tough situation. And then let's just think about it, man. Look at that Rams game, man. This is no disrespect to Braden Fisk, but he looked like Reggie White and Aaron Donald had a baby, man. Like what the fuck, dude? He looked like the best defensive player I've seen in the last 15 years. He's clearly not that guy. That's more of an indictment on our boy Bradford, who I used to love, but holy moly, that guy
Mm.
is he cannot get a moving target. But here's the calamity of errors, though, is this is where Ryan Grubb also has to be better. A guy like Bradford is clearly not a pass blocker. Lean into what he is. He is a huge, huge man that can move people in the run game. He obviously has massive struggles in pass pro. I hope the Seahawks did a bunch of self scouting, or this is going to be a really long second half with a really high draft pick.
Which might not be the worst thing in the long run. I mean, think about how San Francisco built their roster. A good year, terrible year, high pick. Good year, terrible year, high pick. And now they're littered with great talent across the board. I mean, they've struggled this year. Injuries will affect any roster no matter how good it is. But I mean, if if I don't even know what you would do at this point in the season to fix it. Like if we don't have anybody on the roster, I mean, besides Abe Lucas coming back, I mean, but that's not going to help the interior offensive line that much, and that's where the biggest struggles are. Like Connor Williams has been completely underwhelming,
Mm,
completely underwhelming. He has been getting manhandled. I mean, he stepped on Gino's foot in that one game. Might have been the
mm.
Bills game. That was just getting manhandled, just getting pushed back like it's like he's one of those blocking sleds.
Well, the guy tore his ACL in November, and he somehow came back in September. Maybe a rush job there. I'm not sure. I
If
am
you
interested to see though what happens after the bye.
Yeah, I was about to ask if you were the coach and you were going to make a change on the offensive line, what would you do? Assuming Abe Lucas is ready.
If Abe Lucas is ready, Abe's at right tackle. I move Connor Williams to right guard, and I put in Olawatimi or the undrafted guy at center.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Because what the hell is up with the snaps? Also,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
I mean, one of those was definitely Gino's. Gino could have caught it.
oh,
I
absolutely.
and,
But there's
and then
three snaps that have gone for like 20-yard losses in two games. Three
mhm.
snaps for each 20. So we basically lost 60 yards on three snaps. I would say one is on Gino, two are so far over his head he can't do much about it. But yes, there's one you can easily see that it basically hit him in the face and went flying over his head. But oh my goodness, I'm glad I'm a football fan in general, though, because man, the Seahawks, holy moly, it might be a tough stretch down. Sunday evening media, do you want to see Sam Howell? That's the other question. And what I am so perplexed about Indy is what is Sam doing in practice? Because I feel like he is just not practicing well right now, or we would have seen him by now. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like he just must be underwhelming in practice. And at least from all of my upbringing in every sport, you have to practice well to get in the games. And maybe that's the case. We'll see what happens. But if the Seahawks fall apart, we might need to put Sam in just to see what happens. But I don't wish our protection on anybody.
Mm-mm.
It and here's another thing, Indy. I gotta ask you: do you think the overall perception on the Seahawks is that, in my opinion, I think most fans think the team is more talented than they actually are? What are your thoughts?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think 90% of football coaches will tell you it starts in the trenches, it ends in the trenches. If we're failing in the trenches, we're going to struggle to succeed in other places. And we have consistently failed Gino in the trenches. And consistently failed Kenneth Walker in the trenches or whoever is running. Like I I think we haven't seen Sam Howell because the coaching staff probably thinks the same as most of us do. The offensive line sucks. When Gino has time, he's great. So I think they still have confidence in Gino. I don't think it's as indicative of like Sam Howell's practice performance or whatnot, but I think going back to what we were talking about earlier, I think if we do end up with the high draft pick, you draft an offensive lineman and see what you have in Sam Howell. Build an offensive lineman and see what you have with Gino and Sam Howell or whatnot before you go
Mhm.
and get a quarterback. That might suck because there's some really good quarterbacks coming out in this next draft, but what are they going to do behind a porous offensive line?
Mhm.
Unless they have a definitive plan to fix that shit, like you have to draft one early.
Mhm. And it's actually going to be a surprisingly large number of offensive linemen in the top 50 picks, dude. So that really bodes well for the Seahawks. Sometimes, not sometimes, every draft you can only take the guys that are that have entered their names into it. So not all drafts are the same. I would have always rather have found a line of scrimmage guy over a cornerback in the top five. I think that's maybe why the Jalen Carter, Devin Witherspoon debate will go on forever. Sunday evening media, we need to draft a guard who is available. I can't even remember his name, but the where's RG at? The Ohio State left guard is an absolute animal, and he's athletic enough that when their starting left tackle went down for the year, he's kicked out to left tackle now, done an admirable job there. He is the Ohio State left guard. Keep your eye on him, and then Indy. The Kansas City Chiefs just seem to do everything right, in my
Oh
opinion,
my
in
goodness.
terms of how they manage their roster. And Trey Smith, their outstanding right guard, is going to be an unrestricted free agent this offseason. The problem is, if the Chiefs manage their books well, I mean, they'll bring him back. And Andy Reid, being the old lineman and offensive guru that he is, I will be shocked if they let a talent like that get out the door. But Sunday evening, oh my God, Trey Smith on the Chiefs. If he becomes available, you do what it takes to bring him in here. Enough of this shit, dude. I'm sick of seeing Gino, Tyler, and DK making up like $90 million of the salary cap. That shit just does not fly with me right now, and it never really should. And this is not an indictment on those players necessarily. This is about a strict salary cap. How do you build your team out? And although draft, develop, and extend is the best way to go. Sometimes you just got to bite the bullet and sign a high price free agent, Indy, and no more half stepping. I don't want three guys that are all D players. Let's spend the money and at least get a B.
For sure. For sure. Uh, my answer to Sunday evening media would be Tate Ratledge from Georgia. That dude is that
Ooh.
man and his mullet. It's a dog right there. I would take him any day of the week. I don't care how big of a reach it would be for them to draft him early. That dude is a dog. He's like 6'6" or something like that. And athletic is all get out. I'd love to see him.
I have no problems drafting Georgia Bulldogs, that's for sure.
Yeah, me either. Seems to be working out for the Eagles.
I mean, it sure has. It sure has. And it doesn't mean you have to be right all the time. The Eagles whiffed on Wazoo left tackle Dillard. He ended up being busting out for the most part. But you draft enough guys, you give yourself enough bites at the apple to get it right. And then even San Francisco, dude, like they've missed quite a bit. I mean, Trey Lance is one of the worst trades ever.
Ooh,
Solomon Thomas is obviously not a top five pick. So the one thing I'll add is teams do miss, but man, it sure helps if you can hit with your top picks. In fact, not helps, you need to hit on your top picks. Rounds 4 through 7 are basically a crapshoot to me. Maybe you can get a couple good players a year, but man, rounds 1 through 3, I need you guys to find quality football players.
yep, I agree. And yeah, I think I love Zach Charbonnet, but drafting a running back there, that hurt big time. Big
Yep,
time.
can't disagree.
Doing
Well,
like
I guess my issue is you spent the second round pick on Walker the year before. Now, granted, we needed to draft another couple running backs, which they did, but this is where I get what you're saying. Like, you know that that guy is only going to be a backup running back when you already have Ken Walker in the fold. So, yeah, I totally get what you're saying on that one.
yep. And could have had Creed Humphreys and we drafted D. Eskridge instead. Those are things that obviously hindsight's 2020, but when the entire fan base is screaming for you to draft Creed Humphreys and the dude walks out there with the card and says D. Eskridge, it's pretty disappointing. Pretty disappointing. I also think that we got to remember as a fan base that a lot of this roster is not Mike McDonald's roster. Like he didn't choose a lot of these guys that he inherited. So we
Hmm.
need to expect a lot of roster turnover and give him another year at least to implement his scheme fully because I guarantee it's frustrating not having all the pieces you want
Oh,
and just not
absolutely.
having people understand what you're trying to do properly because we all know he's an incredible defensive play caller. Like we've seen it, the entire league witnessed it. I just know that there's a lot of people calling for his head and saying that we should have never fired Pete and all of this is just pump the brakes, give it a little bit. I think we're going to be fine. We just need to make the right decisions,
Hmm.
especially on the
Well, you
offensive
made the
line.
move. See it out. See it out. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, Jim Mora Jr. is the exception to the rule, and obviously Paul Allen made the right decision there. But I'm gonna make you sick to your stomach though, Indy, because I decided to bring this up right now. And this is not an indictment on Zach Charbonnet. This is an indictment on the Seahawks front office and coaching staff in terms of how you build a team. Zach Charbonnet was pick number 52. Three guys I loved coming into that draft. Number 57, center John Michael Schmitz. Osiris Torrance at number 59. And Juice Scruggs, who is kicking ass and taking names for the Texans as we speak, literally right now on Sunday evening. Those are three linemen that I was super high on, and I thought that there was a good chance that the Seahawks could have drafted any of those three. We went with the running back out of UCLA, so it doesn't matter now. But I wanted to look that up for one specific reason, Indy, is were there those guys on the board? And clearly they were.
Yeah. The it feels like sometimes these picks were like like I'm trying to be smarter than everybody else picks, but just didn't work out.
Mm.
Just didn't work
Or
out.
there's something, and this is the tough one for me, because almost all the time I'm the type of guy that's like, best player available, best player available. But you have to also adjust for positional value. And I get the feeling that, John Schneider's like the difference between Osiris Torrance and Anthony Bradford. There ain't much of a difference. Well, it's a big enough difference, and so maybe Zach Charbonnet is so high up their big board, but this is where positional value comes into play, and this is the crazy part about the draft is how do you manage your player rankings versus positional value. And if it was that easy, I would be the one living in a gated community in suburban Seattle like John Schneider. Instead, it's him. But he's getting paid a lot of money to figure that out. Texas Power. What a great fucking job by your Texans tonight, though. Everybody's like, the Lions. We love the Lions. And I do love the Lions. But there's a lot to love about the Houston Texans also. This is why the NFL is so fun, though. The Texans got absolutely smoked by the New York Jets of all freaking teams last Monday night. And here we are against maybe the most dangerous team in the NFL. I'm going to give you your flowers, Texas Power. Your guys are coming in hot and doing some shit.
Yeah, they are. Man, their defense, I only got to watch a little bit of that game, but their defense was shutting shit down. Gibbs had like 15 yards
Mm-hmm.
in the first half or whatever. It's oh my gosh, I'm looking right now. Jared Goff has 5 interceptions.
5 picks now? Oh, my lordy,
Five
lordy.
picks. Ah, what is his passer rating? 39.2. Man had like the best passer rating and completion percentage ever The 18 for 18. Now he's having one of the worst games you could imagine. From Dan
Isn't that
Marino to
sports for
Danny
you?
Dimes.
All of us have put, even if it was just little league, even if it was just t-ball, all of us have had some moment where you thought, God damn, I'm good, God damn, we're kicking ass. Then you've also had those days where like, I am never gonna hit the ball again. And I guess that's the
Hmm.
beauty of this thing.
Yep. You never know. Any given Sunday.
It's the inches in front of your face.
Oh man, my 9-year-old brother stayed with us the other night, and I showed him the Little Giants for the first time. He was loving it, man. The annexation of Puerto Rico.
Shit, dude, I might have to watch that again.
It
I,
was
I
so
don't think
good.
I've seen that since I was a kid.
It's like $3.99 on Apple TV to rent it. It's
Oh,
so worth it.
oh, that's worth every penny. That's worth
Every
every.
penny, man. It's a great movie. Great movie.
Hop in the time machine, y'all. We got Ed O'Neill and the Giants versus, or no, I have it backwards. It's been so long. Ed O'Neill and the Cowboys versus Rick Moranis and the Little Giants. There we go. That's a
Yes,
little
sir.
better.
Legendary movie, man.
I think maybe when we get RG back, we should get a little movie and music into this shit, especially during the off season. But it's fun chopping up with the football, man. And as much as I am pessimistic about what the Mariners will do this offseason, I still always have that optimistic part about me that says we're going to get it done. And you know what? Maybe a little bit can go a long way. Maybe Jerry's got a big ass trade up his sleeve. So we will see what happens with our beloved Seattle Mariners. But man, for all these wonderful Americans, and I truly mean it. It has been a divisive week to say the least. But from my perspective, when you actually go out and converse with people, we're still good. We just got to remind ourselves that people trolling and all this anger and animus on social media and the internet is usually on those keyboards. You get out with people, people are usually pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. For
And
sure.
what better way than these sports, man? I mean, it's been a tough week for a lot of people in this country on a political spectrum, but there's nothing like sports to just sit. Let's throw all that bullshit aside and let's get back together again. Whether we're yelling at Tay Williams about his shitty ass Cowboys, whether I'm praising Texas Power Ranger about his Houston, Texas on Sunday night, we got Sunday evening media and Mariners Lifer. They're 12s like us, also, man. Let's just remember, man, we still got each other. What's RG's grandpa tell? He tells us RG's grandpa would tell us that it's all about the people living in this world. And I just want to say thank you, Indy, master producer, ready to pinch hit at any given moment. And I want to say a huge thank you to the live chat as well, man. Anything you got on your chest out there, bro?
Just remember that, like, at the end of the day, we all bleed the same. That you don't need to burn any bridges in your family over politics. Like, you're not gonna see eye to eye with everybody. Like, don't let your politics ruin your friendships and family relationships. It's not worth it. Just agree to disagree. That's where
I
I
like
stand
that.
on it. Life is too short to be living like in discourse with people you love. Like,
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, life is too short. Want to give a huge shout out to two of my friends who their father's funeral was this Saturday, and me and my brother attended to give our moral support and pay our respects. But you never know when a loved one's gonna go quicker than you would hope, and you don't want to ever feel that you wanted to take things back from someone you loved when it's too late to tell them. Tell your people you love them. I wish I could tell my mom and dad I love them every single day, and that day has passed. So, like Andy said, don't let some bullshit divide you from the people you love. And man, my oh my, I love these Seattle Mariners, bro. It's gonna be a wonderful ride. It's my oh my. We can't, we won't, and we don't stop. Live chat, thank you so much. Katie Matsumoto, thank you so much. Darby, Indie, Vaden Podcast Services, Vaden Podcast Services. My oh my, it's another sports podcast. Don't forget about the notorious RG. Y'all be safe out there. Get at us, people.
Yes, sir. See you guys.